This is a tutorial on how to create this animated clothes transition. The difficulty level is a 4 out of 5, and the techniques we will cover include speed ramping and keyframing. We're going to use CapCut to demonstrate today, but this is really easily done in any other video editing app that allows you to add layers and also to speed ramp. And we're also going to need PixArt as well. Here are some examples of how to apply this to your niche. Pause to read and let's get into it. I rated this a slightly harder reel because it requires a lot of filming and it's very time consuming, but it is easy to create once you understand the concept. It is not that difficult to edit. Now, there are a few things that you'll need. You can either use one of these spinning tables that I'm standing on, as you can see right here, and I will link it in the description down below. This is the one that I got from Amazon. However, this works for other concepts like a spinning chair or anything where you can continue the same movement. If you want, you could also potentially do it in the same spot without doing too much spinning. Maybe you could be doing walking, but this is just a demonstration that we will be using the spinning motion. All right, next, you will need to do it for multiple outfits. For this particular reel, I did 7 looks here, so that's a lot. For the sake of demonstration, we're just going to do 2 outfits, and you'll see that it's all the same concept. It's just a repeat of the same things, okay? So first, let's take a look at this slowly to break it down to understand what is actually going on here. So we start with this part from facing just roughly 45 degrees from the front and starting with a base layer. And then each item flies onto the body like this. And then you do a full spin and you turn to the front and lay out all of the outfits with this text tagging the outfits. And then you do another spin and then you start your next outfit in the same way. All right? So that is it essentially broken down. So what this means is in order to achieve this, you need to do the base layer, 1 full circle, and then you'll need to do the shoe spin, a spin with the jeans, a spin with the skirt, a spin with the hat, and then a spin with a pose, and then go to the back again. So just understand that you don't just do it once per outfit. You need to do it as many times as the number of outfits you are having fly onto your body. You'll also notice that for some of the items, you don't have to do a full spin. For example, when you have just the shoe on, you only need to do a mini spin. And then with the jeans, the same thing, you only need to do the front facing part of the spin. So whenever you can save your time and not have to do a full spin because this table spins really, really slow. The next thing I want to point out is absolutely crucial to lock your exposure when you are filming this. This is so important because I made this mistake and it cost me hours and hours of fixing the color of the clips because I forgot to lock the exposure. So let's take a quick look at the clips. So this is the base layer. With the base layer, you want to go in and do a full spin like this, because you're going to need this base layer every time you build an outfit. This is going to be the first outfit that you turn around in. So you can see here, I started dark because I was not facing the camera, and then as I turned to the front, the camera detected my face and then it lit up, or it increased the exposure. And so that was my mistake, not locking the exposure. So you absolutely have to remember that. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how I fixed the exposure later. So this is how I put on each outfit. So we had the base layer. Now with the next one, I do just a quarter spin with the shoe, and then you can see I got off here. And I put on jeans, and this was a brand partnership, so I was talking about the clothing. And then I go back on again. I only need to do this part of the spin, like you can see, and then I get off once that's done. Or I did it again because I think I wasn't holding still. So I did it again, and then once I know I have enough, I get off. Same here, sweater, and then one more time with the beanie. And notice that I have my hands and feet in the same position. My eyes are looking at the same place. So I'm trying to keep my poses all the same so that when you edit them together, it will look consistent. So I wanted to have this sort of robotic look. So I put my arms straight and slightly away from my body and with my hands straight. So that's one more thing you want to take note of when you are filming. All right. And then in the last outfit, what you're going to do is you're going to start from here, right? And then you're going to do a full circle. And then when you get to the back, you want to start doing your pose that you want to end up in when you come out, when you come and face forward, okay? So that's basically how you film each outfit. Let's just look at one more example. I already have the base layer, so I'm just starting with the shoe. I do a little quarter spin, get off, and then we put on the jean skirt and do a quarter spin and get off. And then we do the sweater, again, quarter spin, get off, and then jacket. And with the jacket, I did a full spin because we're going to come out with a pose. But because I was fixing my jacket here, so I redid it a few times, and the last one is the better one. So the last one I actually started from the side here, so we're going to have to do some trimming and piecing it together. But basically I started from here, and then I gave them a pose like this, and then I went back to the original pose. So once you finish your pose, one more thing you want to do is to come back and finish this pose so that we can connect it to this pose from here, and then continue the spin, and you'll come out with a base layer again. And that's how you continue to the next outfit. So we have added all of these clips into the timeline, and let's start to trim the clips, and then we'll find the parts that we need to correct the exposure, and then we'll do the speed ramping, and then we will do the animation of the clothes flying in. So first, for this base layer, let's start right here because this is where the video starts, right? And let's just move this clip towards the end. We might need it later, but for now, let's just get it out of the way. So what we need here is just probably a split second of the clip. We want to split this and delete the rest because we're going to have lots of outfits flying in, and you probably only need like 0.2 seconds to be honest. And then next we're going to find the part where it connects the best, probably right around here with the shoes, because this is the next item flying in, and trim the beginning like this. So you can see we go from this to this, and you can do minor adjustments later, so don't worry too much. Now let's split this and find the next clothing item right here. We can trim roughly here, so like this. You can see it continues seamlessly, and let's trim it again roughly around the same spot so that its duration is around the same 0.2 seconds or so. We can adjust that later to the music. Next is the sweater. We can start somewhere around here. Let's take a look. That looks good. And continuing with the beanie, right around here. That's perfect. Okay, and now from here, we can also trim this, split this, because for this part we're going to speed up a lot. And then when it comes out to the front, when I'm facing forward like here, you're going to go slow, right? So this whole entire section is going to go really fast, and then this section is going to go slow. So we're going to have this spin go slow, and then the rest of it we're going to speed up again and stop when we are facing away from the camera. And this is when, because it's speed ramped a lot, this is when we transition from this outfit to the base layer of the next outfit. So we trim that right here. Okay, so now this is actually a good time to bring back the original clip, because what we're going to do is we're going to continue from here. As you can see, we're going to trim it. So when we are facing the same spot like this, we're going to continue from the base layer of the next outfit, and then we're going to again start somewhere around here and then start pasting the next outfit. Okay, so the next outfit, again, same thing. We're gonna find the various spots where it connects well, trim it, and then move on. Find the right spot, split, delete the beginning, and let's take, looks great. Now let's split again and find the next spot, split, delete, looks great. Okay, split again. And then we have one last item, the jacket, and we're going to start roughly in the middle here. Split and delete. Now let's just take a look to see if it's matched up well. That's great. And then now we can also trim this because the rest of this is just going to be sped up. However, you can see that I started moving right around here. So I'm gonna trim it off maybe somewhere around here, and we're gonna find another time where I spin and connect the two. Let's see. So we have, okay, so for this one I spin from here. So we can split here and delete. So now you can see we connect from this to this, and it continues to spin, and then we come out with the pose. So we can split here for the pose, which is slow, and then split again. And then the rest, we're going to again trim it right when we're facing away from the camera, same thing, right? And then if you were to continue to the next outfit, basically, I think you should know what to do now. We would just be finding that beginning clip, which is this one. We would be duplicating it and then moving it to the back. And now you can see we're going from this outfit to the base layer again, right? So that's how you repeat each of the outfits and then spin them to transition to the next one. Now that we have all of the clips nicely trimmed, we don't have to worry about the exact duration just yet. We're going to import the music shortly, but first I want to correct the color because stupid me did not lock the exposure. And so you can see that there's like, it goes dark and then it goes bright. This one is not so bad actually. It's just a tiny change, and this one is really dark and then it goes bright, and then this one is the worst. You go from like crazy overexposed here and darker here, and then crazy overexposed again. So the way we're going to do this is use keyframes to add keyframes and then adjust the brightness or the saturation as you need between each time the exposure changes. Okay, so let's start here. I think this looks very consistent throughout. The lighting doesn't really change here, so it's nice. However, when we go to the back, it does get a bit dark. So I think we can add the keyframe here, and then it gets a bit dark here. So let's add a keyframe here, and then it gets bright again roughly here. So let's add another keyframe. So what you're doing with these keyframes, you're anchoring the information in terms of the exposure, the brightness, the contrast, or the color, or anything, right? Or the position of the video, the size of the video. So you've anchored these 3 points. And what I want to do is I want to keep this point and this point the same exposure. But this point, because it's a bit darker, I'm going to go into adjust. And then I'm going to just slightly increase the brightness here because it's not a huge difference. So let's just say maybe 2. So now you have this where the brightness is set at 0 and this is set at 2. So what it's going to do is it's going to gradually go from 0 to 2 and then back to 0 again. So let's take a quick look. If you just scroll, there's still a bit of a part where it's dark here, so maybe we can add another keyframe here and then just go in and increase the brightness there just a tiny bit. Let's take a look. Okay, I think that's much more consistent. It's generally the same throughout. There might be slight flickers, but honestly, when we're going to speed this up a lot, I'm not sure it will all be that visible. So let's continue on. This part looks fine exposure-wise, but now we're starting dark and it turns really bright. So we're going to go in here. We're going to keyframe this so that we can lock in that brightness. And then we're going to keyframe this and we're going to go in and increase the brightness here. Let's say this will require a good bit. Maybe we do 10. And let's have a look. It will gradually turn it into bright. Okay, because this is quite a long clip, we're going to add more keyframes to make sure it animates the exposure at the right pace. So maybe here. This looks like it's already bright. All the way up till here is the same exposure. So what we need is from here to here, we need this to be brighter. All right, let's go to adjust, add the brightness. Look at that, so much better. But I still think it goes a bit too bright here. So maybe we can actually go in here and bring down the exposure. That looks so much better, right? So now you're not just the clip itself, but between this one and this one, it's also much closer in like the color, the brightness, and all of that good stuff. So now that looks pretty good. Next, let's take a look at this one. It looks great until we go to the side. It gets super, super bright. So let's mark the spots. This part is the part where it starts to turn bright. So we mark the start of the keyframe here and the end of the keyframe here. And the beginning part we don't need to fix. Okay, so let's go to this keyframe where it is too bright. Again, go to adjust and turn down the brightness. Be an 8. So now, wow, that looks so much better. We've already kind of pretty much fixed it. I would say it looks good to me, because once we speed it up, it's going to be a lot better. So now, next clip. First of all, I had to connect these two clips, right? Let's just take a look. They look, lighting-wise, somewhat similar, so I actually don't think we need to fix that. However, you can see the moment that I turn forward, it gets darker. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this. Okay, so it gets really bright here. So let's go in, add a keyframe here, add a keyframe here where it gets really bright. And then when it gets darker, let's add another keyframe. So let's reduce the brightness of this because it's definitely too bright. Maybe like this much. And then let's take a look. That looks much more consistent, much better. But it looks like it's still pretty bright here, right here. So maybe we can go in and add another keyframe and adjust the brightness here. I also think maybe we want to adjust the brightness here just a tiny bit. Wow, that looks so much better, much more consistent. Okay, now we want to just make sure these two clips connected are still looking good. Looks like it gets a bit dark, so I'm going to go back to this keyframe here and make it just a tiny bit darker. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, so now you have this lighting look much more consistent. Okay, now lastly, we want to fix the brightness on this clip from here to when we face backwards, because it does get a bit bright. So let's start from here. And then it starts getting too bright roughly around here. So let's go in, reduce the brightness right there. Maybe -5. So you go from this brightness, and then it stays consistent. Ooh, and then it really quickly gets too bright. So let's add another keyframe and adjust that again. And it keeps getting super bright. So this one requires a lot more adjusting. You really do need to go in and add more keyframes as you go. And then the last part also is very, very bright. So now let's just take a look at the clip throughout to see if there's any dramatic changes. Maybe at the end it got a bit too dark, so we're gonna go in and fix that. This is honestly a little bit of experimentation, and you do need to sort of find the right consistency throughout. Okay, I think that's good enough. Now we just have to fix this part to match up with the previous clip. That's where it gets bright here. Okay, let's go in, adjust the brightness, and then of course adjust it here. All right, now that's looking better. I still think it gets suddenly bright here. So maybe we need to add another keyframe and make it brighter so that the transition from darker to bright happens faster. Okay, I think that should be good enough. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add the music and then speed up the clips and match it to the music. So now let's go to audio and extract, and let's find the clip and add the audio. Now that we have the audio in the timeline, let's go in and start matching up each of the outfit changes. So let's take a quick look first. Okay, actually you can see that this part up till roughly here where the sound waves gets a bit bigger, that's when you start to do the quick spin, right? Maybe around here. So from here to here, we want to have the person spin behind and come out with the final pose. And so that means from here to all of this, this is when the clothes come flying in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and just drag this and make it longer. And we just want all of the clips. You might have to really zoom in because you're gonna have to be precise here. And just increase the length of this because it definitely happened too fast. This will require quite a lot of experimentation. And because we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 items, and you start with the base layer, so we have 5 clips. So you're splitting 5 clips from here to roughly here, right? Let's take a look. So actually maybe we can extend it all the way up to here. Okay, let's take a look one more time. And then this is the part where I'm going to turn. So we're going to speed this up a lot. Let's find the speed function and just do normal because this is really, really fast. You're gonna barely notice any speed ramp if we do speed ramp. But let's just increase it to like, I don't know, 60 or 70, and let's take a quick look. Okay, that looks pretty good. And this one will end here. So looks like it's roughly double the length. What we can do is we can go speed it up by almost double because the movement is really slow. So I think even if we double the speed, it will still look fine. So let's play it from the beginning. That's great. And then now what we're going to do is speed up the part where you turn into the next outfit. Again, I think 60 something worked for us. So we're going to do 60 something again. Now let's also speed up the next part of the clip. Roughly the same amount, 60 something. And we can always adjust later. And then let's take a quick look. Also, let's mute all the clips. So this is going to spin, come out slow, and then spin, change outfits, and come out here. So we want the clothes to fly in here. And then end roughly around here. So it does look like our sequence is roughly correct in terms of the speed of things, but we can definitely extend it a little bit because it looked like it was going really, really fast. So we need this to end sooner, and we need the spin to happen maybe even faster. And then that way we can have the outfits fly into the beat. And the beat is here. Those 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on this audio and go to beats and auto-generate beats, and hope that the mapping out of the beats here is going to help me a little bit. It's not going to be perfect because it's not exactly like each outfit is always exactly the same timing. Some of the outfits have 2 items, so you got to do 2 outfits flying in, 2 clothing items flying in to the whole 4 beats, but let's take a look. Now we've added these beats. If you're not familiar what this is, just do lesson 8 on music and you'll know that this is a good way to match up to your beats. So let's listen to it again. Like we start from here. So these 4 beats from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, is a place where we want to place all the final outfits. And then this is the turn, and then this is the slow motion. So now we have this as reference. We can zoom in, and we can use this as reference to slow it to the right places. Let's take a quick look. Okay, and then now we can speed this up, the turn, to 70%. Well, 7 times. And then this one as well. Let's take a look. Looks like it can't play real-time speed. Okay, so the outfit should have spun out from here, right here. So we need to somehow speed up all of these so that the spin finishes right here, and then you start showcasing each of the outfits from here. Okay, so let's trim these. Okay, let's take a look. I think that's better. Maybe this was a bit too fast. Yeah, definitely. Maybe we can speed up this turn just a tiny bit more, and maybe we can crop this last part a bit more so that when you come out, when this beat starts here, you come out in this outfit, and then you're going to put on all the text outlining what each item is, like this. And we'll crop it off here. Let's speed it up actually. And then this is a part where you speed it up again because it's going to turn again. And then same with this. But we are going to end here because this is just an example, okay? Like this. All right. And let's trim the music to where it's supposed to end. And let's take a quick look and make any speed adjustments as we go. So now all we have to do is go into the first frame where the clothing is flying in, right here. And then we will full screen it and screenshot this. And we're gonna bring it into PicsArt to remove the background so that we can animate it. So first frame, because the clothing item is flying in at the first frame, so we got to screenshot the first frame. Make sure you do that instead of like screenshotting any frame, okay? Now do it for every single outfit whenever the new item is introduced. so that we can animate it for it to fly in. And then for here also. Now let's go into PixArt. Okay, so we have all of the items here. Let's start from the shoe. And what you're going to do is go to remove background. Okay, it did a pretty good job. And now you're just going to zoom in and you can tap on this erase button, and then you can go in and maybe increase the hardness. You can adjust the size, maybe make it a bit smaller so you can be more precise. And also right now the default is that it has restore selected, so you want to go to erase and then go in and just erase everything and keep only the shoe. Now you can keep zooming in and adjusting the brush size as you need, okay? Now that that has been done, just apply. And then what we're going to do is want to give it a little bit of motion blur because it's going to fly in really fast. So go to Effects, scroll to the end and tap on Motion Blur. And you can adjust this. Let's say we want the distance to be less, maybe not this crazy blurry, right? Maybe something like this. And the angle, let's just make sure the angle looks correct. I think it looks correct. And that's looking good. So now you just have to download it. Now you pretty much just have to do it for every single one of these clothing items, and I'm going to speed up this part. Okay, now that we have all of our clothing items isolated, we can now add them as overlays and animate them into the frame and onto my body. So tap on Overlay, Add Overlay, and go to Photos, and select the clothing that you just isolated. For example, the first one is this boot. So let's match it up in size. Let's zoom in on the timeline. Also because it is see-through in the background, so on the timeline it's black. It's a little bit hard to see, but you just kind of have to like tap around and find it. So let's have it animate in maybe just a tiny bit before we spin in, right? Like around here. And then the moment you turn in, you should have the clothing item on your feet because I mean, it's flying in onto your body, right? So it should fly in on the first frame. So we want to keyframe the first frame. And then let's add another keyframe. Let's see how fast we want it to animate in. And this may take a little experiment. The closer the two keyframes, the faster it's going to animate in, right? Because you're going to have this here. Let's see, is it in the right spot? Oh, right here, yes, like that. And you're gonna have it fly in. So maybe we try to put a keyframe here. If you need to make it fly in sooner, you can always remove that keyframe and add another keyframe here, and so that it flies in quicker. Okay, let's do from this side. Let's have a look. That looks like a good speed. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Now let's continue to the next one and insert an overlay here. Add the next clothing item, which are these jeans here. We want to make sure the size is correct. And the position. Okay, that looks good. Now let's go back and add another keyframe. And let's have it fly in from here. And then let's play that. Let's do it from the boot. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's continue and let's just do that for every clothing item. One more thing you want to do is once the shoe is on the body, you want to split it right here and then delete the rest. So making sure to remove that outfit animation the moment it lands on the body. And you want to do that for each of the items. Like here, you can split it right there. Split, delete, and then trim it. Split, delete, and then trim. Okay, so I've just animated all of the items to the first outfit, so let's take a quick look. I think I might actually go in and reduce the speed of some of them because like this beanie flying in feels like it's flying in really fast. So the way you want to do that is just extend this a little bit in the timeline, and you can add a keyframe here and then remove this keyframe. And now you have just made it come in slower. Let's take a look. I like that. I'm gonna do the same for the sweater. Okay, now we just have to repeat the same process for all of the clothing items, each of the clothing items for the next outfit. Okay, I've animated all of the items for the next outfit in. Let's play it and have a look. Okay, let's play it from the beginning. Okay, looks like the playback is a little bit lagged, but this is pretty much how you're gonna do it. And all the clothes are nicely flying in one by one at the right speed. And now what we want to do is just go in and add the text on top. So when you turn back around with each of the beat, this is when you want to add the text overlay on top. So go to text and add text, and let's just name it whatever, beanie. Okay. And let's bring this all the way up here. So you're going to have it last for the entire duration of this clip, okay? So then you split it at the end and delete the rest. So, and then you're going to go in and duplicate this, duplicate. And with this, you can then go in and let's go into the word beanie and let's do underscore. This is the line that you're going to put in there to point to your beanie. So maybe we don't want that many underscores. Just a short line, like this. And now you can see, and you can go in and adjust it, maybe add a bit more. And there. Now you have this beanie. I'm not sure why there's two, but we can delete one. May have accidentally duplicated it. Okay, so now you have this, and now all you have to do is with each beat you can add another text. So the easiest way is simply to duplicate and then trim it to the next beat. And this is when the beat on the little yellow dot that represents a beat is quite helpful, because you know that this, here's a beat, here's a beat, here's a beat, and then another. So we're going to roughly divide it, but our clip only lasts from here to here because we needed to leave some space for the person to spin. So we're going to roughly try to evenly space it out, like 4 between this length of this clip, okay? So let's just add this in sweater, and then again do the same thing, duplicate and trim, and then now you can just move it down. And you can go in and reduce the length of it. Okay, that's looking good. And then just keep duplicating it. So I'm going to speed this part up. Okay, let's take a quick look and make sure the beat and the timing of the text is right, and we can make any necessary adjustments. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, now we can just take this and duplicate it and move it along in the timeline. And we'll just do the same for this part. Now, one thing I want to mention is because this is actually very hard to select with your fingers and the screen is so small, so you can go to basic with your text layer selected, go to basic, and then adjust the position there. This will be a lot easier for you because it's very easy to accidentally tap on the wrong button, accidentally duplicate it or remove it or rotate it, and you ultimately don't want that, right? You want to be able to control fully. So that's a tip for you. Okay, now we have put all of the text on here, and let's take a quick look. Okay, so that is pretty much how you create this reel where you can spin and animate the clothes in, as well as create annotations for each of the items. Now that all of the animations are complete, we have one last thing to do, and it is that the color is a little bit dull. So because we have so many clips, instead of tapping into each clip and adjusting it individually, what we're going to do is just not have anything selected and then go into adjust. So what this will do is it will apply an adjustment layer to the entire timeline, so everything on the timeline. We can just try auto adjust. Looks like it gets a little too bright here. Maybe what we can do is we can go in and increase the saturation. Maybe we can bring up the brilliance. Potentially we want to make it pinker like this. Increase the temperature. And this is a bit too much. Maybe also a little too bright. Alright, now let's just drag it along the timeline so that it will reflect on all of the clips and take a look. Reflect on all of the clips and take a look. If you want to adjust it, it's very easy. All you have to do is go in and just add your adjustments directly, and it will be reflected in all of the clips. And this is why it's very important to add it as an adjustment layer. Now, just a final reminder, you'll notice that there's a little bit of change in the exposure here. Now, this is why it's so important that when you film it, you have to lock your exposure so that you can avoid painful moments like this. I do want to share with you one little trick. So what you can do is you can go in here. Let's say you go into the last frame. One little trick I want to share is, let's say you go into this frame and then you go to freeze. So you have just created a new layer. Now what you want to do is make this an overlay like this. Now you just want to make sure it is across the entire video. So you can drag it like this. And then now what you can do is you can go in and create a mask like this, horizontal mask, and then just move it upwards. And then you can also feather it a bit, not too much, but just feather it a good bit. And then that's looking good. Now, if you take a look, what happens is there's less jumpiness at the top of the frame because you now have put a layer mask on top where the change is mostly happening around the body, and then the color of your ceiling is not changing as much. So it's not the whole frame that is changing in color. It's just somewhere around the subject. You can see the pink in the background changes a little bit. There's a little bit of like exposure change, but at least your ceiling is consistently there because you have added this still image and then masked out certain parts to reveal the video underneath. All right, so that's a really neat little trick. Now we can export this video.